it's your boy Thingos back again for another video, and today I'm going to be talking about Spectacular Spider-Man Episode 3, Natural Selection. Hold on, let me ask this real quick. In this episode, we talk about the Lizard and how he comes to be. And what I really like about this episode, and really all the episodes, especially the ones that focus on a specific villain, they do a really good job of showing how the villains are before they change. Like I said in my previous video, this show does an excellent job of setting things up and then paying them off later. We saw Dr. Connors with this container and with this lizard serum, injecting himself with it in the previous episode that was really all about Electro, but you still got to see bits and pieces of what Connors was doing that was going to lead into this episode before it even started. So in this episode, it's pretty much all about the Lizard. Like I said, the vial that he had, like the little container, during the fight that Spider-Man and Electro was having at the end of the last episode, it got electrocuted by some of Electro's bolts during the fight, and it charged the serum that he was using and made it like, I don't know, I guess that shit just charged that shit up and made it like way more potent when he used it. So when he was at home that night, he injected himself with it, and I guess it sped up the process of whatever he had going on inside of him. Laid down with his wife, and in the middle of the night he woke up, and it was kind of intense how it happened too. I was like, damn, but his arm just came back and just reformed himself right there. Him and his wife, they looked at it for a minute, they embraced each other. The wife, she was just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm pretty sure she probably just thought the shit was a miracle for just a couple of seconds, but when he said it worked, she was like, what the fuck you talking about? I know you ain't inject yourself with that lizard shit. And Kurt just on one. He just like, look at the results. Do you see? We could literally heal millions. Like he was just drinking all that juice. And it was good, for a couple of minutes, for the night. They got to enjoy it. That was probably the best couple of hours of his entire life, because he came in the next day, the ESU lab, meeting Peter Parker and Brock and Gwen, and he had a surprise. He had a cake, and he was just like, fuck all the work today, we're just gonna celebrate. Shook Eddie's hand, and it was funny because Eddie didn't even realize he was shaking his hand at first. He was just like, what the fuck we celebrate? Oh shit, your hand, your right hand. And then they started arm wrestling. After that, we see him actually lose at arm wrestling, and that was another good line he said. He was like, oh, I'm sorry about that, Doc. He was like, are you kidding? Do you know how happy I am to lose at arm wrestling, nigga? Like, I got my arm back, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, Doc Connors is just happy. Like I said, this was probably the best couple of hours of his life until, boom, this popped up. So, you have his wife, damn, I forgot his wife now. I'm just gonna call her Miss Connors. Anyway, she actually notices something on the back of his neck in the middle of her talking. She was like, calm down, Eddie, because Eddie was getting stoked too. He was just like, bro, did you see what's going on? You got your arm back, bro. Like, we talking about guaranteed Nobel Prize in this motherfucker. And then right in the middle of her saying, hold on, Eddie, bad enough my husband used himself as a guinea, she stopped herself right there, told their son, because he was there, hey, why don't you go play Space Wackos on the computer, bro? You know what I'm saying? Crank that volume. If you gonna crank the volume, close the door, bro. She knew what she was doing. He closed the door. As soon as he closed the door, she said, honey, take off your shirt. He like, you kidding? It's freezing in here, nigga, bro. Cold as hell. I ain't about to take my... All right. And he took his shirt off. Took his shirt off. And you saw like scales on the back of his arm and his back. So I ain't want to show y'all my armpit hair and shit, manly. But anyway, look, so he showed all them scales on the back of his arm and his shoulder and shit, and they was just like, yeah, this is having some very negative side effects. Over the next couple of hours, you could see that the reptilian part of his mind was growing and the human part was actually regressing. They stated that. They said reptilian DNA is way more primitive than humans, and it's taken over his mind. So he was slowly starting to become more and more the Lizard Man and less Doc Connors. We got his son actually peeking through the door, and he witnessed some of this. So Parker does like a pretty cool, noble, and like nice thing. I like this scene where he goes in and he talks to him to try to like comfort him and see what he saw and what he's thinking about in this moment, knowing that it's probably very difficult for Dr. Connors' son to actually be going through something as traumatic as this. Watching his father turn into a fucking lizard. that he's actually reading a book on lizards, which is ironic. And he tells Peter, he's like, you know what if my dad, you know what I'm saying, like forget about me and shit. Like, he didn't straight up say that, but he told him that some lizards, like, they leave their eggs, like when they hatch or whatever, you know what I'm saying, they just like let them go out to the wolves, and sometimes they get eaten and the parents don't even remember them because they only got lizard brains. And he literally whispers that, he's like, they only got lizard brains. It was a cute little scene. I'm like, how old are you, man? But anyway, when he said that shit, Peter told him and tried to reassure him that his father will always care about him. And Peter, and then that's when he was like, even if he turns into a monster. And right when he said that, you heard his father outside, Dr. Connors, screaming because the final stage of the transformation was taking place. And he says his final words as Dr. Connors before he completely transforms into the lizards, which is very powerful. He just says, I've made a terrible mistake. And then he's and then he just changed it to the lizard and just started fucking shit up, just started knocking things down and everything. And they just like, oh my God, this dude throw Eddie Brock. Eddie jumped, bro. I swear, bro. Before Eddie turned into Venom, bro, this nigga was the most bravest motherfucker in life. Like, he throw himself it like heroic as hell. Like, this dude just jumped on the back of the lizard, tried to get him in a headlock. The lizard grabbed him and threw him, bro. And that man rolled and crashed into Peter too. Both of them went crashing into the wall. I was just like, damn. And then he just jumped up out the glass and dipped. As soon as he dipped, Eddie was like, you guys stay here and make the gene cleanser. I'll follow with the location and then I'll update you guys. Now, let me tell you guys about the gene cleanser real quick, because I did skip over that. During the process of Dr. Connors transforming into the lizard, they didn't just sit there on their hands and just watch him transform. They actually got a lot of work done. They just didn't get to finish. Peter proposed the idea of what if they actually worked from the other end of the actual experiment they was doing. I think they were trying to find a way to try to isolate all of the lizard DNA and try to like take it out one by one, something like that. But Peter said, why don't we just, do it the other way around? Try to knock it all out in one sweep, like a nose filter in a cell phone. You know what I'm saying? Like a gene cleanser. You know what I'm saying? And they was like, yeah, that's dope, bro. We can definitely do that, bro. Take Dr. Connors' notes. They'll have everything that we need. And right in the middle of, that, and that was before what I said, when Dr. Connors turned and then left. So this is just setting up like that they had an idea before he actually completely transformed and dipped. But they, like I said, they already had this in motion. So when he left, he was like, bruh, y'all whip up that gene cleanser. I'ma follow the lizard and I'm gonna let y'all know the location. So I'm about to dip right now. So Eddie ran out of there, and Peter, I don't know why he said this, heat of the moment, he fucked up. Bruh could have perfectly covered for himself. He could have just been like, I'll go with him. You know what I'm saying? Just let Eddie get like a little lead and just be like, I'll go with him, because you got to keep his secret identity and everything. But he come up with that excuse, which really isn't an excuse, but it just isn't good enough for the extreme situation that's happening right now. He says, I have to go too. Aunt May will ground me if I'm not home by 10. And I'm like, come on, bro. Like, I'm pretty sure even in that situation, they would understand it's an emergency. And your Aunt May, being the amazing woman that she is, and Gwen knows her, knowing that she would not mind if you stayed and helped, and you are super smart, they probably thinking like, bro, you can really do something. Even though I don't know why they didn't consider the fact that Peter pretty much helped them come up with the idea of the gene cleanser. Anyway, but yeah. He fucked up with a slip of the tongue right there when he didn't say what he could have to cover for himself. But either way, he ended up dipping out the back, turning into Spider-Man. Well, not turning into Spider-Man, but just, putting his costume on and following the lizard. And he actually went to a subway station. He had a cool little line where he said, if I was a 6'5" lizard instead of a 5'6" spider, where would I be? I love how Josh Keaton delivered that. But anyway, when he goes into the subway, he just sees the lizard just wreaking havoc. He is just, terrorizing people, destroying parts of the subway, knocking guns out of police officers' hands. You see Eddie Brock doing his best to try to keep eyes on him and try to inform people, like civilians that are running away from the chaos, to just go towards the exit and remain calm. Just doing the heroic thing that he normally does. Like I said, bro just displays braveness all the damn time. Even though he was about to get flattened by some rocks, but Spider-Man helped him out. And he swings up to the lizard and he attempts to try to, you know what I'm saying, get to the Dr. Connors part of his mind. And then he realizes that, yeah, there ain't no way he reaching that shit. And then you have this amazing fight scene. It's really good, really good. I don't know if I stressed how good the fight scenes are in this show, but the art style doesn't really make you think that the fight scenes will be so well choreographed as they are. Like, they are so creative and innovative and just unexpected, and it's just so much eye candy. Every time you watch it, it's like you notice something else. Like, it's so good, like, and it's so unique to the character of Spider-Man. It's like when you watch these fights, you feel like you're seeing him do things that only he can do. Like, only Spider-Man can do this shit, and it's just so well displayed. Just his flexibility, the way he uses his webbing to propel himself and move around, dodge different attacks, the way he uses them against other enemies, the way he actually gets beaten up a lot. He knows how to take a fucking beating, you know what I'm saying? And the lizard was not playing no games in this episode. He was fucking shit up. Like, bro. Like, bro, the lizard don't play no games, bro. He got hands, he got speed. He was tackling Spider-Man. He was destroying parts of the subway, pushing it up and destroying, like throwing him out the way, using his tail. Like, bro, this dude was using his tail like nobody's business, bro. This man was whop, 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 grabbing him, smacking him, beep, 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 beep. Like, I'm talking about Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure he had the lumpity lumps under that mask, bro, the way he was getting beaten the fuck up in this episode, bro. It was just crazy. Like, I love how he takes so much damage, but he still dishes it out. Like, you just got to see how this show does it. It's greatest fight scenes I've ever seen by the character of Spider-Man. It's just great. But anyway, after this fight scene on the subway, we get Spider-Man actually losing the lizard temporarily, but he uses this time to go back to the lab, check in on where they're at with the gene cleanser. Now, Gwen and Dr. Connor's wife, they actually finished with the gene cleanser, so Spider-Man shows up, and he actually misses another chance to cover for himself, because when he just pops up, they're just like, Spider-Man. And then Gwen says, how did you know we needed you? And Spider-Man said, my spider sense tingle. He could have said, that kid, Parker, he actually saw me and told me that I should come by and help out. He could have said something like that, you know what I'm saying? And that would have been like, oh shit, Peterson spot, like, oh that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it could have, I don't know. Like, maybe it's just ways he could have avoided that shit. But anyway, I think he goes to the zoo, and at the zoo, or like some kind of aquarium or something, he goes there and he meets Eddie, and he finds out that Eddie tells him that the lizard actually went inside the little like the alligator part of the zoo, and inside of like the heated pool area. He goes there and he thinks he's getting the drop on the lizard, but he jumps on a real alligator, which is fucking hilarious. And then the lizard just gets him from behind, grabs him, holds him underwater for a long amount of time, and then Spider-Man starts to drown. But it's actually saved by Eddie, and he had to watch himself because he almost gave Eddie a clue as to who he was before he found out on his own. And he woke up and he was like, I thought I told you to stay put. He's like, you complaining? And he's like, no way, bro. I mean, guy. And he realized that it would be a good idea for him to remove the lizard from the heated pool and drop him in some super cold, like polar bear water, and that'll probably slow him down. You know what I'm saying? So what he did was he got the lizard, and well, actually he didn't do this. It was a cool scene where Eddie was like, first you got to get him over here with some lizard bait, and he was like, no way I'm about to. And he cut him off and he said, my choice, don't try to stop me. And he was just like, I'm impressed, bro. But this scene was hilarious. I actually was watching it with my brother last night and rewind it twice. Bruh, the scene with Eddie running from the lizard is so fucking funny, bruh. He was balling. He had to get up out of there, and he ran and he ended up tripping. And when he tripped and the lizard was about to have him, Spider-Man was swinging right behind the lizard, and he was about to catch him by surprise and put the gene cleanser right up in him. But Aunt May called, and that annoying ringtone was so loud, and it actually alerted the Lizard. He turned around, smacked him. Spider-Man was able to still save the gene cleanser though. And then out of nowhere, Billy shows up, Dr. Connor's son, and tries to talk to his father. Doesn't work. Looked like the Lizard about to bite his head off, but Spider-Man swings and knocks him down into the cold polar bear water, and they have an epic fight. And this is where you see once again just how savage the Lizard is. I'm talking about just, bruh, spearing this nigga, just smacking him, destroying rocks that he's trying to throw at him, and then, like, I'm talking about counterattacking. Like, bruh, he ain't playing no games. But Spider-Man is able to find an opening where he webs Billy's skateboard, and he kind of uses it as like a brace or like a shield, and he pins the Lizard on the ground, and he puts the skateboard in his mouth so that his jaw can stay open, and he pours the gene cleanser down his throat, and that's how he, you know, gives him the antidote. And good thing he did too, because he was getting his ass beat even after that. Like, the Lizard was about to kill this nigga. He was like a second away from killing this dude, man. But he transformed at the last second back into Dr. Connors, back into himself. So Spider-Man successfully saved the day. But we got another scene to discuss, because even though he did save the day, it initially didn't feel like it, because you see, he took pictures. Finally, how he was trying to take pictures in the last episode, he took pictures of himself, good ones, of being Spider-Man, and he was able to give them to the Bugle and win that contest. But they had to put that the pictures was taken by Peter Parker, and the pictures that he took was of himself as Spider-Man fighting the Lizard. And the next day at the ESU lab, everybody saw the newspaper and saw that Peter, instead of being there helping them with the antidote effort, he ditched them and wanted to take pictures of Spider-Man fighting the Lizard. At least that's what they thought anyway. No one having no idea that he's actually Spider-Man himself. So his friends think he's scum, and he also got fired from his job, and that just sucks, you know what I'm saying? So initially when Peter gets home, he feels like shit. He just thinks that he's, you know, everybody hates him, lost his job, nothing is going the way he wants it, and he actually takes one of the gene cleanser containers and he's about to drink it, but he has this beautiful moment where he sees Uncle Ben and he stops and he realizes, I saved him, you know? Spider-Man might not be a perfect, you know, like, might not be like a wand or nothing, but you know what I'm saying? Because of the webhead, Billy has his father back. You know what I'm saying? Right now, Spidey stays because Spidey's needed, for now anyway. And I really like that saying, because it shows like the inner turmoil and back and forth that Peter goes through. You know, he's not perfect, and they really display so good in this show, like the struggles and the things that he has to balance while also being Spider-Man. And I really think this episode just did an amazing job on the emotional parts, on the action parts, jeez, man, and just on the story overall. This episode was amazing. I love it. I have no issues with it. And yeah, the next episode is when we're gonna see my boy Shocker, and I'm really enjoying to talk about that one as well. Shocker is one of my favorite villains, and I hate how he always gets the short end on the stick in most media that I see him in, except for the video games. They're usually doing pretty good in there, even though he still could be doing better in there too. But yeah, this show does probably the best version of the Shocker that I've seen, other than the comics, and yeah, I really love it. So can't wait to talk to you guys about that. Really hope you enjoyed this video of me breaking down Spectacular Spider-Man episode 3. Natural Selection, the Lizard episode. Let me know what you think in the comments, if you got anything you want to say or whatever. If you want to join my Facebook group, Viltrumites Take Flight, please look that up. Also click the link in the comment section below, or in the description section below, for the Discord for Invincible Disciples, Invincible IDs, you already know. And yeah, hope you're having a good day, night, wherever you are. Until